this committee. At this time, we will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Support. Motion support. Any discussion, changes, questions about the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of being approved as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is now approved. Now we'll move into our public comments. Anyone from the public like to address the committee at this time? Committee motions and reports, then we'll start off with our Finance and Administration Committee. Commissioner Plum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the contract with GovOz as a co-file company for a 5-year contract to provide support for internet-based security and search capabilities in an amount not to exceed $29,365 annually. It's a 5-year contract, and authorize the chair to execute the same.
Support.
Item A is moved and supported. Take your pick with either Garber or Webster. Questions or discussion?
Just to point out for the people in the public that this is for the Register of Deeds office, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Anything else? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of moving item A forward on to a final vote tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move to approve the compensation for extra payroll duties as proposed.
Support.
Item B, moved and supported. Take your pick, Garber or Webster.
I was gonna say
Pick
the
other
opposite.
one, yeah.
There you go. Questions or discussion about this? Talked about it
Monday.
6,000, I believe. And it will be as a stipend for the extra duties that would expire if the jobs change or if those duties are revoked. Okay, hearing none. All in favor of moving item B forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion moves forward.
I move to approve the master plan contract for the parks in an amount not to exceed $7,500 with Phil Hathaway, and authorize the board chair to execute the same.
Support.
Item C, moved and supported. Questions or discussion?
What fund is this coming out of?
Parks and Rec.
Oh,
Waste management, I think, is the.
Any others? Okay, hearing none. Item C, all in favor of moving it forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also will carry.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Plowman and Mr. Commissioner Plowman. Now we'll move into our Economic and Physical Development Committee report. We will go with Mr. Board Chair. Read that report for me.
Oh, certainly.
Ms. Scotia.
Pardon me?
Trust me,
Ms. Scotia.
Ms. Scotia.
This
You want me to make
out.
the motions? I will do so.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the PA 116 farmland agreement application for Mr. Frank
Ms. Scotia.
Viscochel, parcels 004-34-100-004 and 004-34-100-002 located in Hazleton Township, and Kenneth Smollett, parcel 003-29-400-001 located in New Haven Township.
support.
All right, moved and supported item A. Very good, thank you. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item A moving forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that we approve the L4029 form as presented to establish the 2022 summer tax millage rates and authorize the chairman and clerk to execute the document.
Support. Item B moved and supported. Questions or discussion?
It is not an increase.
Correct.
A renewal.
Even it's
Yes,
sustained, but will decrease
right.
because of.
Had like rollback.
Yeah, you got it. Any questions? Okay. Item B, all in favor of moving it forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we approve the rehabilitation mortgage for discharge for Robert Hathman and Marcy Hathan of 301 North West Street, Henderson.
Support.
Item C moved and supported. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving it forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we approve resolution number 22-05-10 endorsing revitalization of blighted property.
Support.
Item D moved and supported.
Hey.
Thank you, Mr. Plowman. And it is now open for discussion. Durand area, the old I guess, warehouse for, what was?
Oh, it's Simplicity Engineering.
Yeah, Terex now, yeah. It's a good thing, get cleaned up. All right, hearing no more discussion, item D, all in favor of moving it forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, that motion moves forward. And thank you very much for completing our report for me. Now we'll move into our Health and Human Services Committee report. Commissioner Garza.
Thank you. I move that we approve the contract between Shiawassee County and the Shiawassee YMCA in an amount not to exceed $100,000 and authorize board chair to execute the same.
Support.
Item A moved and supported under HHS Committee. Questions or discussion?
I had a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Of course, I wasn't here yesterday. The one thing was, it said what it was refundable for was an attachment A, but there was no attachment A in our board packet.
Question.
I don't know if they meant to say Exhibit A,
Maybe.
but they said attachment A, and there was no attachment A included.
Yeah, actually I kind of read through it. The grant was actually for, I think it's 186,000, but there'll be little grants of 100,000 co-administrated for the health department YMCA for vaccines.
I asked about 100 questions yesterday, I think.
Yeah, we had a full
Yeah.
presentation
I
on it.
Okay.
And it, like, the one thing that I kind of like the most was the idea of putting a nurse in school, but it's $100,000 for 1 year. You're never going to get a nurse to come in for a 1 year contract. There's just too many openings for nurses right now, so this was kind of what their committee came up with, was the best idea to use the money to raise vaccine awareness. And there really wasn't a whole lot much else. I don't think that was said. I don't believe there was anything spoken about on that item A or
Well,
Exhibit A.
It's
You had some
a
questions.
rural health grant, and the idea is to promote, what they want to do is promote vaccines, and not just the COVID vaccine, but all vaccinations within the community. And so they want to
Including
get
like
this,
Hep A and stuff.
yeah, they want to get this money out to nonprofits who work with the at-risk populations that they're trying to reach, senior adults, people in poverty, people, minorities. We don't necessarily have organizations here, but whatever, to reach the underserved populations. So the idea is that there are what they call community champions, people in these nonprofits who are more closely connected with those vulnerable populations, who have a better relationship with them, who'll be able to promote vaccines at events that they are either going to plan to have or already have planned. So, back to school events, backpack distributions, those kinds of senior citizen events. So the YMCA is serving as the fiduciary of that $100,000 and will give mini grants to these nonprofits to help support those events where vaccinations will be promoted. So that's kind of there's a committee made up of people from the health department
Okay.
and the YMCA who will review the applications and determine the criteria for giving the money out. It doesn't all have to go toward vaccination or even vaccination education. It can help pay for other aspects of the event as well.
Is definitely not what the verbiage says in the packet.
Well, one of the things too is, because I wasn't super thrilled about just like vaccine pushing parties, but they can do it doesn't have to just be about vaccines either. From what Grace said yesterday, it could be any component of wellness.
But you do have to offer vaccine there, yeah, like other things too.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just if somebody read this paperwork that we were given, that's not what I picked up out of it.
Well, I think that
That's why
paperwork
she
is
was
more
here.
about the
Well,
agreement.
I know, I get that, but I wish that she would have put that in what's gonna go down in the file.
I think that is more just the contract with the YMCA in their role as fiduciary, rather than describing what the grant criteria is, which is separate from that.
Right.
If needed, we could probably, at tomorrow's meeting, ask them to return, so you could question that.
Yeah. And is the money, did she say the money's coming from a grant from the state of Michigan?
Michigan State University.
And there's
Rural
no
health.
county money?
No.
And
No
no county
county
match?
It's all Michigan State University.
Okay.
And the reason we're involved is because they are contracting with the YMCA.
Sure.
I mean, we've already approved them receiving the money. We did that a couple months ago.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
approved them receiving the $186,000. So this is just approving the contract with the Y, who will be the fiduciary of a portion of that money we've already agreed they could receive.
Okay.
Sure. In the past, doesn't the health department typically contract, the contract's with the health department, right? Not necessarily,
I don't recall doing this, but I would have to let Bob answer that question. I don't.
well, I was looking back through some of our old, meeting minutes, and it looks like we flip-flopped, and I did ask Larry, and the contract really is with the health
I know
department.
we've had fiduciaries with other things, but I don't remember any time doing it with the health department. But that doesn't mean that it's not kosher. I just.
Oh, no, I'm just saying the verbiage, as we're talking about, the contract is really between the health department and the YMCA.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that we shouldn't approve it or ask these questions, but that it is actually a contract between the health department and the YMCA.
It's not as clean as it could be. I think at the end of the day, the packet is.
We're just approving the grant. He does the paperwork and all
I don't
the
even
things,
think-
all of his grants, we approve them, and we don't approve his detail, what to do, and everything about it.
Right, well, I think it sounds like we already approved the grant, and this is somehow a smaller portion of the grant that's
Well, the whole
coming
grant
back for
is,
approval again.
somebody said it was 186,000, so
Yeah, something like that.
It's more than that.
I'm clear still. Okay.
Yeah, Health and Human Services is quite a
Gee whiz.
discussion. I know. You think I could do one agenda item?
Money that's not even ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at some point or another, we pay the taxes.
Hmm? Yeah.
Good question.
I-
She probably won't after yesterday.
Okay, any other discussion, questioning? Put it to a vote then. In that case, all in favor of moving item A forward onto a final vote tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
With one nay. And so it moves forward. And now we will, bring any other things to your agenda.
No, no, I'm
Uh,
done, thank you.
We have, Tim's here. Remember yesterday we had a packet on the new entrance for the sheriff's department? Does Tim want to talk about that? We're gonna probably take it up tomorrow.
Good, Tim.
I could. What it is I finally got the bids in for doing the front entranceway of the sheriff's department. Last year we did the steps and stuff, as you probably all well know. The doors are so old on the front entranceway of the sheriff's department that one's shut right now and does not open. The other one's not in good shape. But what this would be is they'd redo the whole entranceway. It would all be that dark bronze. There would be all new glass installed, double painting. It would also be dark, like tinted to match the dark bronze. And you would get two new entrance doors. The roof would be redone. There would be new lighting, probably on the overhang and also on the inside. It would be it's just that entranceway, and it's like, I think it said between 41 and 58. And all new hardware, new doors, but it definitely needs it needs to be looked at some point. It's in horrible shape right now. I hate to say it.
And only the one door they keep
Just
shut
blocked off
because it won't.
no, because right now, if someone was to open it, it'd probably fall right off the hinges. It's that bad.
48 to 51.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but when I got it, I wanted to get it to you guys so you could look at it.
And you just got the bid yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pushing them to try to get it sooner than that, but they have their way of, they kind of vet what, so it's not too high, not too low, and they pretty much know where they're gonna be at with everything. And that does not include, like if you wanted like a handicap where you come up and push a button and the doors automatically open. They can do that too, but that is not in this bid, but it would be another probably $10,000. We we had a discussion on it, and right now, the doors would be like an 8-pound pole, which meets handicap qualifications, and they'll meet what needs to be done for handicap, just doing just that. However, if you did want it where they would automatically open, you may as well you'd probably be looking at another 10,000 or so for that hardware.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that
Yep.
report.
Thank you.
All right, any other commissioner discussion? In that case, Mr. Chair, would you like to address the board?
Not much, however, good news, we're selling our bonds this week, hopefully by the end of the week. We have sold several tens of millions of dollars worth of bonds, and obviously the debt, and we will be able to move on that, take care of our MERS debt, and be in a better situation financially. So I, for one, am breathing a great sigh of relief in getting that done.
Yes.
I'd like to comment, we've worked on this a long time. And I'd like to thank all elected officials, employees, all the people that helped us, the banks, the bond sellers, and everybody. And they all worked diligently and kind of understood what we're up against and agreed, so it worked out pretty good.
Yes? Mr.
Do we have to put this on the agenda to approve it today?
Tim's, well, we could, or we could just,
We can have it added tomorrow.
The agenda's already been approved and accepted.
Oh, or we can't put it on the agenda then?
Not today.
Oh,
Do that tomorrow.
but you do it other times, so.
we could put it on, I don't know.
Yeah, you can make a motion, put it on tonight, and move it forward if either is people vote to put it on,
I
right?
haven't really had a chance to look thoroughly at it, to be honest, so I wasn't willing to be the one to do it.
It can be added tomorrow, I think.
You need 2/3 vote.
I think before we approve by majority, but I'm not sure about that.
That might be the
Yeah.
case, yeah, before we approve the agenda. So
So
there
you are a parliamentary procedure person. Do you know about that one?
2/3 vote.
Even
Before
before
the
the
agenda?
agenda is approved?
On Thursday, yes.
Okay.
Committee, it would be.
I mean, would it be the end of the world if it didn't make it on this month? I mean, the sky won't fall, right?
Right.
That is correct. That's the
The
rush.
jail's in terrible
Well,
shape.
it might
We know.
actually.
Well,
Yeah,
jail might fall.
we open the door and, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Part of the chairman's report, we did not include the 911, pension debt in our bonding. And I know we've talked about this. I would like to maybe just keep that in the back of our mind, that is ultimately our debt, even though they have their own funding source. They are not fully funded, they are not anywhere near fully funded. So I'd like us just as a, something to think about as we put that 5% in that we, will have to pay, that we can't bond, that we consider doing something towards the 911 pension debt. So,
You mentioned it several times, and I think we need, I think we probably at this point, obviously, this train is on the track, almost to the station. But for that, we probably should look at what the number actually is.
yes,
What is the number, what is the percent?
yep, and I know Corey and Tracy and Angie, Lieutenant
Okay.
Norman have looked at that number, we've discussed it in 911 meetings. But as we look at how we're going to pay our portion that we can't bond, what I'm proposing is that we just consider trying to pay down some of that debt that is ultimately, is our debt.
Is there a-
So, I'm not asking for any action, I'm just putting it out there as a, something that we consider.
Well, are they underwater right now? I don't think they are, right?
No.
No,
See, so the reason why I personally would try to put the brakes on something like that would be because in the past and recently, that is an entity that hasn't tried to break away from the county. I personally would hate to see putting a bunch of money in for them to go back to that long after I'm gone. I've got 227 days left, I'm out of here. And then they become a separate entity, how much money do we?
How many hours?
I'm not counting, but, we put a bunch of money in, all of a sudden they're gone. Oh, they just got some free money,
it's still our debt,
it would be if they
and
default.
it would be, yes.
But if they don't, then why would we put money in if we don't have to?
We don't, other departments have their own funding. So,
If they wanted to lower the premium for the surcharge, then I personally, that's when I would come to the table.
Well, that's our decision.
I am always in
For me
favor-
personally.
I am always in favor of paying debt when we can, rather than taking on any new expenses. And we do have a little bit of wiggle room on our finances with the way we've handled the ARPA money. It's given us a certain amount that we're gonna have left, depending on what we do with, of course, the rest of the, I know we haven't voted on the rest of the ARPA money, and I'm hoping it gives us, I don't wanna say a healthy, but at least, some kind of an amount of cushion in our various funds, including our delinquent tax fund and simply our surplus funds, our savings, and maybe we could look at that kind of thing. Then we can decide which fire is burning the hottest as far as our finances and where we should put those monies. I agree, we can absolutely look at that.
Okay, that's all I ask, thank you.
Definitely look at it. I would encourage every commissioner to take a look at the fund balance for 911. And I'll say this as kind of the last word. We raised the surcharge to the highest we could. Remember that? It was 1 year before I took the board, right? And that was for the purpose of building a new facility. And the surcharge never went back down. We have all the bells and whistles now. Why didn't that go back down? Now all of a sudden we're scheming and trying to put money into I'm just saying.
That's our call,
What do you mean by that?
as far as the surcharge, the 911 can't independently put something on the ballot. We can.
Yeah, but let's face it, if you reduce it, then it becomes a quote-unquote new millage, and that scares people. So we would never do that. That's the reasoning behind
If
it.
you reduce,
You just renew a millage, right? Isn't that what we do? We renew the millage. I mean, play coy, that's fine, but the fact of the matter is when you change the numbers of millages, it's reduced. Then it's a new millage, and people see that it's not a renewal, and it scares voters. So we've been
I don't know,
trying to not
I
do
don't,
that.
I don't think they
The
would be
fact
scared
of
of
the
it
matter
as
is,
a reduction.
we are paying the most we have ever paid on the surcharge. We built the building, bought all the stuff, and yet here it remains.
And voters approved it.
That's true.
Ultimately, the voters did, we didn't decide that,
No, that's
they
true.
did.
So, yes, sir.
Are we gonna do anything about the Humane Society? They wanna put some on the ballot, and we're not even gonna talk about it?
I think we did. I have addressed it with my townships, with Scioto, with Bennington. They have no interest in it whatsoever.
I know it's not up to us, it's up to the public, and at least to consider what they're doing, so. Can't just tell them to go jump in a lake, that's my opinion, so. Not unless I guess that's what you're saying, so. I'm not saying it, so.
Anyone else? All right, let's give the citizens a chance, if there are any, to address the board. Committee. Hearing none.